What's up, faithful? How's it going? It's Wednesday. We got some news to talk about. Before we do, we got to drop the little intro. What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday, Victory Wednesday. We're still celebrating the victory, right? Playoff week. Yeah, we got some news today. There was some interesting news today. As we talked about the last couple of days, this is the time where teams that aren't in the playoffs, that are actually in the off-season mode, they're firing coaches, firing GMs, all that stuff, and they're looking at other teams to try to get a GM or a head coach, all that stuff. Today, it turns out that Adam Peters, our assistant GM, the draft guru, you know who he is. We all know about Adam Peters. The guy has done such a great job in helping talent scout and getting some of these late round picks, Kittle and et cetera, et cetera. This man, I love it. I love this. This man denied or he turned down the interviews for the Titans and the Cardinals job for their vacant GM position. Now, it doesn't mean that he won't take them down the line. But right now he wants to focus. He said he wants to focus on the playoffs, lock in, doesn't want to create a distraction. That's amazing. Like, this team is committed. I know they're like all good coaches, good executives, and everybody wants a piece of the Niners. But right now the Niners are on a mission, and they say, hey, look, that can wait till after the season. Don't bog us down, man. So that was good to hear. I hope he stays. Off season, who knows what's going to happen if the Niners win a Super Bowl? Everybody's going to want a piece of the Niners, right? They already do. Everybody steals our coaches and and our executives every year. It's because they all want to be us. If they can't be us, try to get someone that was from us, right? That's what they do, and it's a big dub for Adam Peters. Now this changes the complexity of the future because maybe Peters is staying around because he knows he can get promoted within the company. Now the only way for him to get promoted is to go to GM. John Lynch is the GM right now, so it would have to take a move of making John Lynch not the GM, maybe moving him to like president of football operations, but that's what Parag is right now. So then Parag would have to go. There would be a lot of change in the office. But for now, Adam Peters is staying. I love it, and it's cool, man. Last year, you remember D'Amico Ryans? He turned down a head coaching job with the Vikings because he said, "Hey, I want to come back. I want to run it back. I want to strengthen my resume. I want to help this team win a championship." And that's what this team's all about. Everybody wants to win a championship, so it's pretty cool. Let's take a look at some of the comments. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? Christopher Blankenship says, I hope he stays. I hope he does too. Hoggang Gaming says Peters is a dub. He's a massive dub. Debbie, hi Raj. Hi Debbie, how we doing? Nia, let's go. Mario Gonzalez says, Raj, if we don't win this year, is our window closed? Not at all, sir. We got a squad full of dogs. We still got some of the best players in the NFL. They're still pretty much in their prime. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, these guys are still young and in a great window. Dre Greenlaw, Travarius Ward, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, they're just getting started. George Kittle, like, we still have such a fresh group of players, and I think we still have a little bit more time. If we win a Super Bowl, this is like a dynasty type team. The Niners back-to-back years now in the playoffs. They've made the playoffs 3 years under the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan regime. So I don't think the window's closed. And you got to remember, they got two young quarterbacks. Whatever happens. But you got Brock Purdy, young quarterback, 23 years old. Trey Lance, 22 years old. Like, those two guys are young. You got Christian McCaffrey. This window is not closed. I think that they want to win the Super Bowl because they're so close. They're hungry. You can't keep getting that close and, eventually it closes. You can't keep getting that close and not finishing it. I remember when I was a little kid, there was the Buffalo Bills. Nobody circled the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, like they used to say, right? I don't know if you guys grew up in that era, but some of the younger guys may not know. The Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls. I remember every year. I'm like, all right, Buffalo Bills, they're good to win a Super Bowl. They got it. And I remember they would play the Cowboys, and I was like, I hate the Cowboys. Please let the Bills win. And every single year, these damn Bills would lose. So eventually their window closed. But they had a great team. They had a great quarterback. They had good defense. Like they had a great team, and they always got close. So their window was always there for a good stretch of years. So I think the Niners have a window that's going to be open for a while because they have such a talented team, but it will close eventually. And again, keeping a guy like Peters helps that window stay open because he's so good at talent evaluation, and that's one of the reasons why the Niners window has been open. It's one of the reasons why this team is developing such a good team. They draft so well, right? They draft a lot of good players, and they develop these players, right? The late round picks. Look at these guys: Jawan Jennings, dog, right? Late round pick. Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason, undrafted. Just so many players that kind of come out of nowhere that nobody really sees. And the Niners have an eye for that talent. Starts in the Senior Bowl, and they keep, scouting these kids, and they become something. So 49ers are great at it. Dre Greenlaw, Aziz Al-Shahir. Aziz was undrafted. Greenlaw was like a fifth-round pick. Talanoa Hufanga, a fifth-round pick. So, I mean, that's why I'm so happy right now Peters is staying. Again, we don't know what his future is, but the 49ers know how to develop talent. They know how to scout these guys. They know how to bring together great human beings for their roster. Look at the free agents they've brought in over the years. Kyle Juszczyk, right? They've brought in so many good players. Charvarius Ward, we all love that guy. And, they get the homegrown talent, but they do bring in some of those outside guys that really cement this team. Christian McCaffrey is him. Did you see Kay Adams today hyping him up? She said he was the best midseason acquisition of all time. Of all time. Like, not just in the last decade or what she said, of all time. She made some great points. Like, he has really transformed this offense, and it's amazing what they've done with Christian McCaffrey. So what was I going to say? Yeah, Christian McCaffrey has been a phenomenal addition, and that's all because of this front office. And I think Adam Peters and John Lynch, they work great together. I love the duo. It's a power duo. So good to see. But I don't think the window's closing anytime soon, to answer the question. So that was a good question. A good question. Let me get back to some more of these comments. Everybody always has good stuff to say. JR says, got to keep Peters, definitely. Iden says, they stay on the Niners tip every year trying to take from us. That's what they do. They love to take our players. They love to hate us. They love to trash us. And at the end of the day, they want to be us so bad. That's how it is. Fake love. What's up, Israel? Do you think if the Niners win it, Lynch steps down? I mean, that's certainly a possibility. Good, definitely a good maybe. Unless he gets that fever, he says, I want to keep rolling, because he's built this team, from the ground up. You remember when they took over? They had nobody. They had literally nobody on this roster. They took a squad that was just gutted. It was bad, man. It was just a bad team. And they've built this roster every year, the free agents, the draft. Was it perfect when they started? No. They made some misses. Obviously, we know they made some misses. We could sit here and list them all out. Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, blah, 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 blah. But they've done a lot of big hits. And, they've really cultivated a good culture and just winning mindset, And I think John Lynch, he's had the opportunity to leave many times. The Amazon, he turned that down. The booth job, he could have got paid handsomely. But he said he's started out on a quest to help bring a championship to this team, and he wants to finish that quest. That's his goal. So if they win a championship and he does get offers from, Amazon or whatever, maybe he does leave. And then that could open the window for them to hire Adam Peters as the GM. So it is definitely a possibility, but we'll see. We'll see how John Lynch feels. If they, again, after you win a Super Bowl, you don't know how, what's going to happen. There's going to be so many people knocking on your door. There's going to be a lot of opportunities, and it's going to have to be if John Lynch is still itching to kind of play that GM role, if he wants to kind of continue to win as a GM, because he's pretty much done everything as a player. He was a Hall of Fame player. He's a great announcer. He's, and now he's a GM, and now he wants to go down as a solid GM. Does he want to go down as a Hall of Fame GM? Maybe he'll continue to keep going as a GM. So we'll see. But there definitely is a possibility to answer the question. It's another good question. Alexander says, had a dream, they won it all. Oh, let's go. I hope we continue that dream. Let's keep that dream alive. I hope they win it all. Let's just hope you don't have any nightmares of them losing to Seattle, because sometimes they say dreams come true and nightmares do too. So let's hope the dream comes true. You don't have any nightmares. I want them to win this damn thing. I want them to run it all the way. D'Amico, swan song coming back this year, turn down the Vikings job. Let's go, man. Let's get it all going. Debo back in the fold, playoff Debo. playoff Debo. You got Christian McCaffrey, who's gonna go crazy. If you heard what George Kittle said today, he said, "I hope that Christian McCaffrey continues to be pissed off about not making um, the Pro Bowl." And he says, ever since these last 4 weeks since he's been playing pissed off, he's dominated. I hope Christian McCaffrey continues to play pissed off, pissed off, pissed off. CMC is a good CMC. So let's go. Let's go. Turn dreams into reality. Let's hope that dream comes true. I need this dream to come true that the 49ers win the Super Bowl. I hope it was a vivid dream, because if it is, we got to go all the way. So let's see. They need to make a rule to interview. AGR says they need to make a rule to interview coaches after the season is over during the playoffs. And I understand that it is a distraction, but you got to remember. I mean, we talked about this the other day. Listen, okay, these teams, they're not in the playoffs. They're in shambles. They're decimated. They need to figure something out because their season is not continuing. For us teams in the playoffs, we're just getting started. We're going in playoff mode. We're not worried about things right now. And as you continue to go through the playoffs, that's it. That's your focus, is 1 week at a time. We need that next game. But these other teams, they got to get ready for the draft. They got to get their plans together. The Senior Bowl is at the end of the month. They got to start draft scouting and all these things. And you have to, kind of get your plan together. It's not like we're going to wait until the playoffs are over. Like, it would be nice for teams like us, right? We want to focus. Those other teams don't care about our plans. They have a goal. They have plans. They need to get their personnel intact, hire a coach. Who's he going to bring as OC? Who's he going to bring in as DC? Who's going to be the linebackers coach? Who's going to be the talent scout? Like, they got to bring their people, and then they have to make a plan and a vision and say, okay, this is the guy we want. This is the guy we want. This guy might be available. Let's go scout this guy. So their plans are starting now for the offseason. It's a whole different story. When you suck, when you don't make the playoffs, your offseason starts, boom, immediately after the last week of football. So they have to get things under control. Remember when we were a bad team, right? When we weren't winning, that's what it was. It was, okay, now we got to focus on the draft. Let's start scouting. Let's see who's going to be in the front office. Maybe we got to fire a coach and all that stuff. It's stressful. So you do have to start early. So I do feel like it is kind of, what's the word? A little irritating, right? It's kind of inconvenience for teams like us that are in a playoff hunt. But for those teams that are not, I mean, that's what they got to do. That's their next step. They can't just wait around, twiddle their thumbs and wait. Oh, are they still in the play? Oh, okay, Niners are still in the play. D'Amico, are they still in the? Oh God, we can't interview D'Amico. Are they still in the? D'Amico, because they got to get the guys. Because there's other candidates too. If they don't like that candidate, like let's say, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Let's say the Colts interview D'Amico and they don't like him. They need to know that like kind of quick so they can move on to the next candidate, because they have to find the right guy. Imagine if the Niners, right? If we would have been in shambles, we had to get rid of a coach, and there's a certain guy that we want. What if somebody else interviews him before us and they snap him up and we miss that opportunity? So they can't just wait around and twiddle their thumbs. So I get it. It's an inconvenience, but that's the way it goes, man. So I don't know. Pockets the Cheesecake says, Elijah, if he stays healthy, him and CMC would be amazing. Yeah, that duo is dangerous. It's a very dangerous duo. And we've talked about it during the week. I was on Rohan's channel, and we talked about how, they complement each other so well, because you have Elijah, who can hit those zone runs on the outside. He can come inside. He can do so much. He's strong. He's physical. He's fast. He can cut really well. He's got good vision. And they got CMC, who does it all. And he's a pass catching back. And he's that Mr. All-Purpose. You mix them together. The defenses don't know what's coming. Are they going to be running the ball with Elijah? If you do, you got to come up in the box. If you do, boom, that leaves CMC open for those screen passes. And then if you got to, spy on him or cover him, man up him, it opens up Elijah. So they complement each other really well. It's a great duo. But yeah, CMC and Elijah, both of them have to stay healthy. They both had histories of, injuries. But this year, man, CMC, you could just see he's playing with a fresh mindset. God, he's just been so good. And you can tell he is just a very hard worker, makes everybody around him better. And, hey, he's been playing like nobody's business. He had the ankle issue last week, and it didn't even look like he had an injured ankle in the game. Like, this guy is special. I'm so happy the Niners traded for him. It's like Kay Adams said, he was the best midseason pickup, maybe of all time. Maybe of all time. He has transformed this offense. It's been phenomenal. So someone asked, what jerseys are we wearing Sunday? We're wearing these ones, the standard home red. I haven't heard anything else. It's a playoff game. We're wearing standard road jersey, or standard home jerseys for the playoff games. So that's no, there's been no special announcements. It's playoffs, so I don't know if they have that rule anymore, but for the most part, I don't think you can wear like alternates during the playoffs. So it's standard home red jerseys. Pocket says CMC back on grass. It was the turf that kept getting him hurt. That's definitely a possibility. I mean, playing on turf is not fun. We've seen it on the Niners, right? We've played several games through the years on the turf and got a lot of injuries. And I don't even want to sit here and think about them. Nick Bosa, remember that year he tore his ACL in the same game? Solomon Thomas tore his ACL, like the same game on turf. That was disgusting. That was despicable. So yeah, turf definitely does have a impact on these players, and he played on that turf for several years in Carolina. So maybe it did have an impact. That's a good point. It is a different good point. So Trey, the truth. This is a good question. This is a very good question because this is something we do have to consider. If D'Amico leaves, right, who do we make the DC? It's definitely a good question because I think that D'Amico's going to leave unless he just sees these opportunities and he's like, oh, these are trash, these are garbage. I'm going to stay with the Niners again. Because here's the thing. The 49ers win a Super Bowl. That's going to be a big resume stat pattern, a big resume item for D'Amico because he didn't leave last year. He comes back, and now he's the DC of the best defense in the NFL. And if this defense can be dominant in the playoffs, which I think they can, now he's going to use that as his leverage and says, hey, look, I had the number one defense. I came back and I helped take this team to the Super Bowl. That's huge for him because he is going to have to compete against other candidates, right? Sean Payton's a guy that's out there that's being thrown around. He's a good coach through the years. You know, he's got a pretty good resume. There's other guys. Harbaugh might come back. Although the more I kind of think about it, the more I kind of see things going, it's kind of sounding like Harbaugh might stay one more year in Michigan. But who knows? We'll see. Unless the offer is pretty sweet for him. But he will have to compete against Harbaugh if, you know, in some of these jobs. And Harbaugh's a good head coach. You know, he's been around the league for a long time. He was successful in the pros. He's been successful in college. Like he's shown he can turn a team around in the NFL. So D'Amico will have to compete against that, and he will have to pad his resume. So if he does leave, which he very well might after the season's over, there's got to be some guys out there, right? Yeah. Vic Fangio, we've talked about him. Would Vic Fangio be a guy that they brought back, right? Or into the roster as the DC? You know, they've kind of thrown that name around. He's kind of been a consultant. We've kind of seen that name a lot. But Sean Payton has also said that he would want to bring back, you know, Vic Fangio for his, you know, DC role. So we might have to compete with Payton if he gets a job, you know. And again, I've said this a couple times this week is if D'Amico leaves, the moment he leaves, if Vic is there, offer him up right now if that's your guy. You need to take him off the table so nobody else can get him. But then there's other guys. Maybe Chris Kasurik. That's the guy, homegrown talent. You know, that's the guy they've kind of they brought him in from Detroit a few years ago. They made him the D-line coach. And, you know, he's become a very important staple for this defense, right, for the D-line. He's really done a good job with everybody on that D-line. He kind of turns these guys into something. Arden Key, he was kind of flaming out with the Raiders. He comes to the Niners, and Chris Kasurik turned him into a really good pass rusher. Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis, you know, Samson Ebichan. He's really turned these guys into something. And these younger D linemen, he kind of gets his hands on them and he molds them. So that could be a guy that maybe they consider, but also too, if he doesn't want to be a DC, maybe he's happy being the D line coach because that's a big leap from being a position coach to the DC. But that's what a lot of people do sometimes. They take that little positional job and then boom, they level up to that DC role. So it does. I don't even know if he wants to be a DC, but you know, Chris Kasurik, that's the guy you have to consider. And then around the league, you know, you had Lovie Smith. He got fired. Maybe he's a candidate. He's a defensive guy. Maybe you can take Lovie Smith. That's definitely a guy that you can consider. So those may be the top three candidates at the moment. And then you got to look around the league and see who else is going to be available, right? We don't know who else is going to be available at the time when the Niners season's over. So you have to kind of look and see, you know, who is the best people out there. But, you know, you do have Lovie Smith. You do have Chris Kasurik. And you do have, you know, Vic Fangio. Those are guys that have been thrown around. I see someone saying, my man 49ers throwback says Richard Sherman. I mean, I wouldn't hate that. Richard Sherman's a great mind. He was a great defensive player. You know, he's never been a coach yet. I mean, I don't know if you can go straight from player to DC right away. That's a huge leap. Maybe he needs to be a positional coach first, cornerbacks coach or something like that, DB coach, maybe, and then he can kind of make that jump. But hey, Richard Sherman, great football mind. He's a good analyst. He knows the game through and through. He's smart. Stanford grad. Him and Lynch got that vibe, that Stanford vibe. Maybe I wouldn't hate Rich. Imagine Richard Sherman, DC. That's what you get when you try me with an offense coordinator like. And he listen. Imagine we beat a team and they interview Sherman. He goes, "That's what you get when you try our cornerbacks with the sorry receiver like DK Metcalf." I don't know. Maybe you get Richard Sherman. So, oh, look at this, Boogie. Look at this one. He says Adam Peters becomes GM and Lynch becomes the DC. I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about Lynch getting into the coaching, aspect of it. I don't know. I feel like he's really good as a GM. He's got the voice. He's got that. He can sell ice to an Eskimo. He's the voice you need to be a GM. Like that's what you need. You need an exuberant guy that can talk and he can talk. A room full of people, he's going to be able to talk. That's what you need out of a GM. I don't know. I don't see him as a coach. Now, is he a good defensive guy? Good defensive mind? He was a good analyst? Yeah, of course. I don't know. I don't see Lynch as a DC, but hey, that you never know. If you want to keep Peters and keep Lynch, you got to get a little creative, right? And that's what I think a lot of people are trying to do is getting creative. Because I don't, the Niner faithful, they love Adam Peters, and I don't think you guys want to lose him. So maybe, but again, if Peters does after the season come to the point where he says, "Look, I got to level up. These are the opportunities. I got to take it." I'm not going to hate on the man. I'm going to love him. I'm going to say, "Hey, look, man, more power to you and good for you." You know what I mean? So we'll see. We will see. Patrick Willis. There's so many former players that probably could be, coaches and stuff. But you got to remember, they can't just go straight to coaching because some players have been out of the league for a minute. I feel like you need to be like a positional coach first and then kind of work your way up the league and just, that's the way I look at it. It's not just, it's not easy just to become a coordinator. It takes a lot of coaching experience. And, even though these guys were great players, I feel like maybe they come in and be a positional coach or like a quality control guy, kind of learn the ropes of it, and then you grow up the system. That's the way I think it should be done. But hey, Patrick Willis coming on this team as, maybe a linebacker coach would be cool. But I don't know if I see him as a DC. You know what I mean? So, but it's interesting. It's gonna be a very fun off season when we get to that point. But right now, let's focus on the regular season. Right? We got the Niners, Seahawks, and that's what our major focus is. And again, that's why I like the fact that Peter said that today. He says, "Look, I definitely think they're strong positions, and I'm very admired and I'm very flattered, whatever, of those positions. But right now, I need to focus on the playoffs, right?" So it's nice to see that he said that. That hey, look, at the end of the day, definitely flatter me later, wine and dine me after the season, but our season's not done. Well, I think we ain't done yet. We got a lot of football left, and that's what Adam Peters is saying. Is, hey, look, you can give me all the seafood dinners you want in a couple of weeks, but right now, I need to focus on this team and help them get to the promised land, the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's turn dreams into reality, right? That's what we're all hoping for. So, but it's interesting, right? Is to start thinking about these things because you never know. Because if this team wins a Super Bowl, maybe people walk, maybe people leave. Or on the flip side, if we do win, maybe it strengthens everything, and people are like, "Man, I got to stay with this team. I got to stay with this team." You know what I mean? So, or if you lose, people are going to be like, "Nah, we got to get back together. We got to run it back." So you never know what's going to happen in people's mind after the season. So it's still too early to tell. Pocket says Anthony Lynn is the assistant head coach and running backs coach. He's kind of like the offensive assistant there. He kind of helps with game planning and stuff. He was kind of like run game coordinator, and then they brought their former run game coordinator back because they were having some struggles in the beginning of the season. Anthony Lynn, he kind of helps with the run game and things like that. So I don't think they would make him a DC or anything. Matthew says, "Who do you think is going on the AFC to the Super Bowl?" I don't know. AFC is wide open. This is the thing. The AFC, they have some studs at quarterback. They got some really good teams. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got Joe Burr, you got Lamar, you have Justin Herbert, a young Trevor Lawrence who's becoming a solid player, a young superstar in the making. They got good quarterbacks there, man. But the thing is, they're all going to beat each other up. They're all going to beat each other up. And by the time they make it to the Super Bowl, they might not have enough left in the tank to finish it off. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. I feel like whoever makes it out of the AFC, they might be kind of licking their wounds because they're all going to be battled. There's going to be some battles, man. Those are going to be some battles at the AFC. So, I mean, it's not to say the NFC won't be battles, but I feel like the AFC is more stacked than the NFC, and those teams are going to beat each other up, man. And those quarterbacks are going to be exhausted. They got to, imagine, the shootout Burrow and Allen can have. Imagine the shootout Mahomes and Allen, Mahomes and Burrow, all these guys. They can have shootouts. They're going to be just tired, man. They're going to have to be throwing 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns every single week playing A1 football, to make it to the Super Bowl. So AFC teams might be gassed out by the time they make it to the big dance, whoever makes it. Not to say that the NFC teams won't be. It's going to be a battle, but I feel like the NFC, like the Niners, we have a big defense. They're going to be able to really sustain a lot. The Niners run the ball a lot. They have a lot of weapons. They can spread things around. So I feel like a well-balanced team like the Niners just is going to do a really good job in these playoffs. But maybe the defense will get tired a little bit because they're going to have to play. They play at such a high level, compared to some of these other teams. So we'll see. Speaking of high level, the 49ers can come into these playoffs at a high level because they don't have really much injuries now. Everybody's getting healthy. Pretty much everybody that's on the roster pretty much practiced today. There were, some limitations here and there, but for the most part, Dre Greenlaw came back for the second day he practiced. Aaron Banks practiced again today. So that's good news. Kevin Givens is back. Christian McCaffrey was practicing. Elijah Debo. Let me see some practice reports. Let me pull up the practice report for today. I mean, everybody pretty much practiced, so it's good, man. It's good to see. So today we had, obviously, Ambry Thomas is not playing. He's got the ankle issue. He didn't practice. But everybody else, Armstead, Banks, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, who had the neck sprain, Dre Greenlaw, Javon Kinlaw, Christian McCaffrey, they all practiced. They were limited, but they all practiced. Kevin Givens, full practice. Nick Bosa, full practice. Debo, Elijah Mitchell, full practice. So they're all back, man. The Niners are healthy at the right time. The only issue that I see coming into this week's game is the rain. It's going to be a rainy game. That definitely will have an impact on this week's contest. But hey, rain, you got to play in the elements. It's playoff football. Sometimes that's how it goes. You got to play in the elements, So I think this team will be motivated. And, they got some good news today as well. They had 4 players that were named to the NFLPA. The players voted all-pro list. So this is the first year that the players made a list of all-pro players, not the official all-pro list, but there was, the players get together from the Players Association and they go through and they pick who they think should be all-pros. So you got Kyle Juszczyk, you had Fred Warner, you had Trent Williams, and Nick Bosa. Those are the 4 guys. I mean, the players, you could tell the players are salty of CMC because the players and the coaches didn't choose CMC to make to the Pro Bowl. And the players didn't choose CMC to be in the all-pro list. I don't know what these players have against CMC, but this man should be an all-pro. He should be a Pro Bowler. When the official all-pro list comes out, if CMC's not on it, I'm going to be sick to my stomach. He probably won't because I feel like this list is pretty much going to be representative of the final list, but might be a few changes here and there. It's crazy to me, man. CMC is just not getting any love from players, coaches, and everything. They're salty, man. You know what it is? They probably all wanted CMC on their team, but the Niners were the ones that got him. It's crazy, man. JR says that list is not official. So it's not the official all-pro list. It's a players voted list. So it's from the National Football Players Association, NFLPA. So it's not the official all-pro from the NFL, but it is so this is the first year where they let the players select who they think should be an all-pro. So it's like the first step into all. I don't know why they did it like that, but I guess the players wanted to vote this year. So they let the players vote. They gave them a vote. They voted for it to let them do it, and they did it. So those are your 4 Niners that made the players vote All-Pro. Bosa, Williams, Warner, and Kyle Juszczyk. Israel says CMC is going to be a demon in the playoffs. People don't. I'm telling you, man, these people done pissed him off. People pissed off CMC this year by not putting him in the. And that's what Kittle said today. His quote was, "I hope that Christian McCaffrey can continue to be pissed off in the playoffs because he's been pissed off these last 4 weeks and he's dominated, and he really has. If you've watched him, I mean, he's been carrying the Niners. Like he's every week just goes crazy, gets a touchdown. He's just all over the place." And I think he's definitely motivated for the fact that his peers, the coaches, did not select him to a Pro Bowl. And I'm thinking he's playing with a bag of Doritos on his shoulder, chips on his shoulder. It's crazy to me, man. This guy is so good. And the teams just, they don't want to respect him for whatever reason. They're probably salty that he dominates everybody. And again, ever since he started on this roster, CMC's been 10. The Niners have been 10-0 since he started. Not the game he didn't start against the Chiefs. I know we lost that game. But ever since he became running back one and he had starter reps and everything, Niners have not lost the game. And this offense is scoring 33.5 points. He's a big reason for that. So it's crazy, man. This guy is so freaking good. And it's in the world. I know we're still talking about this a couple weeks down the line, but it's crazy to me because he actually had the most votes in the NFC out of all the running backs. So he should have been a Pro Bowler. But the players and the coaches said, nope, not on my watch. This dude's running all over the field. I think he's just going to go crazy in the playoffs. I think CMC is just about to, like, I don't know, man. He's about to have a historical playoffs. I feel like Debo's going to have a good weekend this week, too. Like, I was watching last year's Dallas game, actually, last night. I was watching that game, the playoff game, and, man, Debo was just, he was so good. And I remember that play where he says, just give me the ball. Put the ball in the box. Give me the ball. And he gave him the ball. First play, boom, touchdown. Touch the ball, touchdown. It was like right after DJ Jones gets the big move. They get the ball over, turnover, right? And Debo comes to the sideline and goes, give me the ball. Put the ball in my hand. Boom, touchdown. One play, and he looks at Kyle. He says, I told you. Like that, Debo, he was so dominant last year. Like I feel we're going to see a dominating Debo in these playoffs. Like, I don't know. I just had this feeling that Debo is about to go crazy this weekend. I don't know. I feel like him and CMC are about to go. They're just going to go wild. I don't know. I have a big feeling Debo's going off on Saturday. I really do. I just think he's due for a big game. You know, he's back. Last week he let the rust get knocked off him, right? He let us shake off the rust. And I think this week he's about to go crazy because he hasn't had like a massive game yet. I think he's due for one. So Shade says Debo has fumble issues in the rain. Now don't throw that out there. Don't be juju. Bad juju. You gotta take that back, Shades. Throw that back. We don't want that bad juju. We don't want the bad Debo fumbles juju. I don't want to hear it. Maybe he does. I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that. Let's throw that bad juju away. Maybe this playoff run, he won't have that, you know? So April says, I hope they all go buck wild. Honestly, I do too. I want them all to have like 100 yards. We can go crazy. This offense has potential to just be unreal. This offense can put up like a 65 burger like Georgia did on TCU. Like this is how good this offense is. If they're in their bag, good night. Can you imagine if the 49ers go up and they score 65 points this week? It would be amazing. I don't think it's going to happen. But could you imagine if they go out there and they drop 65 points? Oh, I would go crazy. Be crazy. Swaggy says Seattle can't stop the run. CMC is going to have field day. Seattle, that is definitely the key of this game is who is going to be able to run the ball. And again, the Niners, their run game has been phenomenal over the last couple of weeks. It's CMC and Elijah Mitchell, right? They've been killing it. The week that they played the Seahawks a couple weeks ago, Jordan Mason was all over the place. And, you know, he got that big game-sealing run. Should have been a touchdown. And then Christian McCaffrey was running all over him. So these Niners have been running the ball very effectively, and that's what it is. And with Aaron Banks coming back this week, I think that'll be huge for the run game. Trent Williams, Kittle in the blocking. It's just Kyle Juszczyk in the blocking game. So I feel like this team should be able to pulverize the Seahawks and run all over them like they have all season. They did it the 2 times they played them, and I don't think that's going to stop. So Ken says the issue is Pistol Pete Carroll playing psychology, mind games. Yeah, you do have to. You got to. At the end of the day, you do have to respect Pete the Cheat. You do have to respect the gum chewing Pete. I mean, he knows how to game plan against the Niners. He's gonna not back down. He knows this team is good, and we know Pete's gonna bring a crazy game plan. We know the mastermind Pete. You got to account for him and his genius out there. So I'm not taking this game lightly. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I don't think that the Niners are going to run all over them. I think it's going to be a game where first half it's going to be very close, and second half they have to make those adjustments like they've been doing this year. And if the 49ers should make those adjustments and make those turnovers happen in the second half, they'll walk away with this game with probably a 10-point lead, 10-point game. And that's what they've been doing over the last couple of weeks, for the most part, during their 10 game win streak. Not the Raiders game, but for the most part, they've been able to stop teams in the second half from doing anything. And I think that's what the Niners are going to be able to do on Saturday against Seattle in the rain with the run game, with this defense. That is going to be that's the vibe I get. If they played the way they played in the second half of that Arizona game, I mean, they're just. I feel like that's the way that it should go. That's the way it probably will go. And I think the Niners will pull away in the fourth quarter and probably win by 10. But hey, you never know. It is a playoff game. You know that there's going to be some referee trickery around, some magic. There's going to be some crazy trick plays. Maybe Pete keeps them alive till the end, and it might be what's the game? A heart attack type game. It might be a close game. It really might. But I just feel like it's going to be about a 10-point victory at the end of the day. So we'll see. Hey, Boogie says, I'm going to need to see the whole squad surfing in the end of the game. Well, let's see. You know, they're going to have some type of water celebration. And then Israel says, if you ain't no Purdy can handle the rain, well, we're going to find out if he can handle the rain like this week. It's going to be if it's anything like it's been lately, it's going to be a really wet and wild game this weekend. So we'll see. We shall see how rainy it's going to be. But yeah, I think Brock can handle himself in the poise. You know, that's definitely the question on everybody's mind. Is Brock going to continue to be able to play poised and under control and so calm like he has been? I feel like he has. He will be. You know, I know the playoffs are a different monster, but you got to realize Brock has had 6 games now. I think he's got the jitters out of his system. And I know, again, playoffs are different. Geno Smith hasn't played in the playoffs. So all these people sitting here saying, well, Brock hasn't, Geno hasn't either. And I know he hasn't wrote back yet, but he might have to start writing this weekend if he takes a loss. So we'll see. I love the story of Geno, but I love the story of Brock Purdy a lot better this year. And he has been poised, playing calm. And I think these 6 games leading up to this have been a very good, lesson for him. And I think he will come in calm. And you got to remember, he did have a lot of experience in college. You know, he was a 4-year player in college, big school. You know, it wasn't a rinky-dink school. They played big time. You know, it was a big power conference. So I think he'll be battle tested and he'll be ready. Again, it is going to be tough. I know that Pete Carroll and the Seahawks are going to throw everything at him. They're going to try to pressure him. He talked about it today in his press conference, and he says, "Hey, look, all the stories are great, the accolades are good, the records are all good, because that's not what I play for." He says, "I know I still got to prove myself. Playoffs are a different monster." Like, he knows that it's a whole different situation. Like, you throw away the records, you throw away the regular season, all that stuff, and it's a whole new ballgame. Everybody's 0-0. So I think Purdy has a good head on his shoulder, and I think he'll be able to deliver. Again, they have a good team around him. They all believe in him, and I feel like it's just a perfect storm right now of everything kind of coming together. And I believe in Purdy, and he's going to take us all the way. So we'll see. We'll see. Brock is a Jedi. It's a good way to put it down. It's a good way to put it. A rainstorm during a playoff game, John. Can you imagine a play in in sunny California, where we've had a drought for several years? There's literally been a drought in California, and now you mean to tell me we're going to have a rainy storm game for the first playoff game in Levi Stadium since 2019? Come on, man. Are you kidding me? We had a drought here, but now we're going to have a rainy game. Only the Niners. You got to love it. What's up, John? How you been, man? It's going to be fun. It is going to be a rainy Saturday. It's going to be fun. Alberto says he has that veteran mentality. He really does. Like, it's crazy. He plays like a 10-year vet. He literally plays like a 10-year veteran. and he's only played 6 games in the NFL. He's a rookie, last pick of the draft. It's going to be fun, man. I like what John says. He says, I just imagine how many times Purdy imagined himself in the Super Bowl, and likely outcome was so minute, if not impossible. I mean, obviously, most of these athletes, right? All these athletes, they always picture themselves in the Super Bowl. Oh my God, 10 seconds left. You always have those moments, those memories as a kid when you're playing sports, aspiring to play sports. They all have those similar stories. They always picture themselves winning a Super Bowl. And I'm sure Brock has had that thought many times, especially as the number, the last pick of the draft. He probably had thoughts of, one day I'm going to get my chance. One day I'm going to get my opportunity. Boom, flash forward to this season, and his opportunity came faster than he probably ever thought it would. And now he is handling the situation, handling the spotlight, and he's doing a damn good job, man. And you know how Niner fans are. They're very fickle. Quarterback position's a very delicate topic, and it's crazy, but everybody's really supporting this guy. So far he hasn't really made much mistakes, so that could be it too. If he makes a mistake, maybe the fans are going to jump on him, but I hope not. I don't think so. I wouldn't. I'm so happy with how the season's gone. 10 games in a row. You got the last pick of the draft coming in and just becoming this force, this superstar in the making. It's crazy how the story is, and I'm so happy of how he's just defied the odds. And whatever happens, and I'm still going to be happy. Obviously, I want this to continue. I want the Super Bowl just like everybody else, but you can't be mad at whatever outcome happens with Brock Purdy, man. He's been a revelation. It's been phenomenal. It's been fun to watch. This story has been so great, right? Alex says Purdy greater than Zach Wilson by a country mile. Zach Wilson has been garbage, trash. He doesn't have it mentally. I hate to say it. I think he's going to be a bust. I know he's young, but he just doesn't have the mental makeup. You see the difference between Purdy, humble, poised. He has the mental makeup compared to a guy like Zach. And again, too, the situation, Purdy's in a great situation. We talked about this in the offseason where, Trey was coming into the perfect situation. All the other rookies in that class didn't have it. And Purdy now is in that same situation. So he's set up for success. But you could just see it outside of that. Like, I just think that he has what it takes mentally. And that is what separates him from a guy like Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson he doesn't care. He just doesn't seem like just has it in between the years. It's just weird, man. Like, some of the answers he had this season in those press conferences were just made you think, like, what is this guy talking about? It's crazy. But, yeah, Purdy, he has all the answers. Humble young man, good head on his shoulders, and he's just dedicated. And you could just tell he puts his head down and he grinds. Hard hat on. This guy's a baller, a blue-collar baller. You can just tell he works. He wants to be good. He knows he's not the best, and he wants to continue to improve. He knows he's a rookie, and he's got a lot to learn. But that's what separates him. He's got that mental fortitude that some of these players, like when you are a bust in the league, it's usually not because of talent. Because these guys all are talented. They make it to the NFL. You got to go through the combine. You got to go through the rigors. They have talent. They're athletic. But mentally, man, some of these guys just don't have what it takes. They just do not have it. And I think I remember reading about Zach Wilson's scouting where they said it. They said his potential drawback would be the mental makeup, where he may just get anxious and he might struggle mentally. And that's exactly what it seems like to me with the Jets, where he is just mentally not capable of taking that leap. Where Purdy, this guy, I mean, all the cards were stacked against this young man. Last pick in the draft. Nobody expected him to even be here. Now, 2 quarterbacks in front of him, break their leg, boom, and now he's the guy. And he took it with stride, and he's done such a good job. Hats off to Purdy, man. Humble young man, and I hope he leads us to the promised land. So we'll see. Israel, yeah. He's worried about sleeping with other people's mother. That's crazy to me. Zach Wilson, that whole story was wild because everybody was like, oh, my God. Like, they thought he was going to be a good player because he's out there being a gross human being, sleeping around, where instead of grinding and working on his craft, this guy is despicable. Zach Wilson is despicable to me. And, yeah, he's probably going to be the next Ryan Leaf if he doesn't figure it out fast. In my eyes, he's probably going to be the next, like, Money Manziel, Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell type bust. It's sad to say it, but it just doesn't seem like he has that work ethic. But, hey, my boy, Brock Purdy, he built different. So I love it. And a lot of that is due to this front office. So we're going full circle on this stream. Adam Peters, John Lynch, shout out to the duo that has brought together a phenomenal team. They've put together an amazing team. And here we are witnessing the playoff run, and I hope it goes all the way. They deserve it. 2019, we were left with heartache. 2013, we were left with heartache. We've been left with heartache last year, 2021. Every year we've gotten so close. This is the year they got it. They can't leave us with heartache. I can't take another heartbreak, man. It's been rough, but I think this team, I think they finally know. I think they're going to dig deep. They're hungry, of course. John Lynch, he wants to win the Super Bowl. He's built this team together the right way. Adam Peters has helped them along the way. Kyle Shanahan, he's had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, but he's learned. He's grown as a head coach, and this is it. It's time for Kyle Shanahan to step up and be the aggressive coach that we need him to be, and take that role and take that step and take that leap and be a Super Bowl head coach. That's the other issue is not the issue. That's the other side of this is a lot of people say these players got to do this, and that. Kyle also has to take this leap. He has this year. I feel like he's really grown as a coach, but he's still not all the way. He's still got work to do, just like everybody else. He's got 4 more games to go, and he needs to win these 4 games. And he's got to be aggressive. He can't, he's got to continue to call good games, and he's got to continue to lead these men. Because if he wants to be a Super Bowl champion head coach, he's got to continue to call these games and motivate these guys and keep the job going. You got 4 more games. It's not done yet, Lynch and Kyle, so they got a lot of work to do. Got their hands, full here. But I think that they've really developed into a good duo of head coach, GM. The relationship has definitely, become really strong before our eyes. Again, they've built together some really good teams. And, shout out to Kyle, man. This season, I've said it before over the last couple of days, is, you really think back at the season and look how it's kind of transpired. They were 3-4 at one point. Trey, he broke the foot, and then Jimmy comes in, and then they go on a run, and then he breaks his foot, and it's like, oh my God, now we're on the 3rd quarterback, and they continue the win streak, 10 in a row, and he's kept his team floating, and and the offense is just taken off, and he's calling good games, man, and he's being aggressive. He definitely deserves some consideration for Coach of the Year. Will he get it? I don't know. There's some really bad teams from last year that are playoff teams. You got the Jaguars, Doug Peterson. You got the Giants, Dayball. Those are 2 guys that took really bad teams into the playoffs. Nobody expected it. So those are 2 guys that may get consideration over Kyle, but Kyle definitely deserves some credit, man. 3rd quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant, and here they are, best team in the NFC right now. So it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. But anyways, that's it for tonight. I'm going to go get some rest, and then we'll probably be on live IG. I think Travis King wants to come on my live tonight, talk some Niner football. So we'll do that. But let's see how the rest of the week goes out. We got 1 more day of practice tomorrow. Friday's a day off because they play Saturday. It's a short week. We got a game on Saturday, and I'm excited. Let's hope that everybody stays healthy and the team, stays motivated and come out with the dub on Saturday. So hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Let's go, baby. Let's get these dub. And shout out to Adam Peters for turning down the Titans and the Cardinals to stay focused on bringing us home a ring. So shout out to my boy Adam Peters. Let's go. Bang, bang. And again.